Hello, everybody. So, Mr. Farina here to help you guys with some of your math. This is our study guide for the quiz we have coming up. A lot of these questions actually go pretty quickly if you remember what we're talking about. And so let's look at the first one. It says find the value of 6 to the power of 2, or 6 with our exponent of 2. Remember that 6 is our base, and our little number above it is our exponent. And this doesn't mean 6 times 2, which a lot of people think it does, or make that common mistake. It means 6 times 6, 2 times, right? So I'm going to say 6 times 6, and then I'll have my answer there, okay? It's not 6 times 2, because 6 times 2 is 12, and that's not the same as what this is. All right, on number 2, it says simplify the expression 4 times 12 plus 5 times 8 plus 11. So on this one, you really need to remember PEMDAS, right? P-E. And that stands for, of course, and I would actually write this on my quiz tomorrow. If I was you guys, write this at the very top so you don't forget it, because a few questions deal with this. So PEMDAS means parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplication or division, whichever shows up first. So it could have been PEDMAS, right? It doesn't matter. So whichever one's left to right, that's what we're going for. And then addition, subtraction, same thing, whichever shows up left to right. So over here it says simplify the expression. It tells us 4 times 2 plus 5 times 8 plus 11. So I need to check my list over here. Do I have any parentheses? I don't, right? So I can go down to the next step, which is E. Do I have any exponents here? I don't. So I'm going to go to multiplication, division. Do I have a multiplication or division? I do. This first one right here does, right? So I would probably highlight it to let me know I'm working on it. And then 4 times 12 is 48. And then rewrite everything else like this. Oops. Keep writing the rest of your problem out. Plus 11. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm already down to this step, right? Because I already checked these two off. So do I have any multiplication or division? I do. So if I look at my middle one, I have 48 plus 5. So some people want to do that first, but you don't. You have to do the multiplication, which is this right here. So let me work that out. I would get everything else I would write down. So I have 48 plus 5 times 8 is 40 plus 11, right? And then you would do the last step, and these are all pluses, so you would just add it all through, and you'll have your answer there. Number 3 says 3y minus 12 when y equals 9. So I know this is still tricking some people. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my problem, but instead of putting y, because it tells me what y is, right? If I go over here, it says y equals 9. So 3 times 9, because when they're next to each other, it means times, minus 12. That's how I would do it. So same thing, I go back to PEMDAS. Do I have parentheses? Well, kind of, but not really. There's nothing I could work out in my parentheses. Remember, when there's a number next to a parentheses, that means they're multiplying. So do I have exponents? No. Do I have multiplication or division? I do. I have 3 times 9, which is 27. And I bring the rest of it down. Minus 12. So once you do that, you can figure out what the answer is. Going down to 4. 4 says evaluate 20 over 9 plus 5z when y equals 4 and z equals 7. I'm going to let you guys do this one completely on your own, but pay attention to this. It says y equals 4, z equals 7. So just fill in those spots, right, with those numbers that it gives you. All right, number 5 is a little trickier because we're going to have to write an algebraic expression. So the question says a fence has a total of 200 planks. Eric paints n planks each day. So write an expression for how many days it will take Eric to finish painting the fence. And let me see here. A fence has a total of 200 planks. So let's write some of our information out. And he paints n each day. So n means how many he paints per day, right? Paints each day. So it will take Eric to finish painting the fence however many days. So what I like to do is when it's hard for me to figure out what I need to do, is like, let's make up an imaginary number here. Let's say he paints 2, okay? So if he paints 2 each day, actually, make it even easier. Well, 2 is fine. If he paints 2 each day, how would I figure out how many days it's going to take me? Well, I would take the 200 and I would divide by 2, right? So that's how that's my expression. That's what it would look like to figure out that it would be, let me see here, 200 divided by 2, right? So I can either write it like this, oops, or I can write it as a fraction, right? 200 divided by 2. And I would have my answer. So we don't know that it's 2. I'm hoping he can paint more than 2 planks in a day. This is just a way for you to try to like figure out and see, does this make sense? Because if I did this, I would equal, so I was thinking I should have done 10. I would have equaled, oops. Sorry, 1 sec. Sorry, I was a little distracted for a second. So I would do 200 divided by 2, right? So if I were to actually solve that, I mean, most of us can do this in our heads, but we would, this would go in here 1 time, I would get 2, and then I would get 0, 0, right? Which means that 100 times 2 equals 200. So this would take me 100 days. If it took me, if I could do 2 planks each day. But we don't know what that is. So that's kind of how you check your answer to make sure it works. But we don't know that it's 2. So instead of 2, it doesn't give us a number, right? It gives us n. So I'm going to put 200 divided by n. That's my answer here. Another way you could have checked it, like, let's say, okay, maybe you're confused, you're like 200 times 2. Well, that would equal 400. Does that make sense that it would be 400 days? And then you can kind of work it out as well. I'm like, no, I don't think so, because that would be too many days, right? Because if you're doing 2 days or 2 per day, then the number shouldn't be more than 200. That's kind of how you can figure that out. All right, so I know it's tricky, and algebraic expressions usually are, but you have to look for those keywords to help you solve for it. Okay, so these are the last ones I wanted to talk about here. Actually, what's going on with my thing? 1 sec. So it says write the number 16 using an exponent and a base of 2. So we know that exponents are the small little numbers, right? So if my base, that's going to be my big number, and then my exponent is the small little number. So it's going to be 2 to the 16th power, right? And let me see if I can make this smaller. I would, let me see if I can just take it. So you guys can see that it's smaller and make it obvious. There we go. That's what that would look like. Remember that this right here, that's our base, right? And this small little number is our exponent. So we always, like, this is definitely going to be on your quiz tomorrow. Remember, this is your base, this is your exponent. The little small number is your exponent, your base is the big number. It goes right over. All right, 7. Write the following as an algebraic expression. So we have to write our own equation again, or expression again. So it says 82 decreased by some number. So what does decrease by mean? Right, it means subtraction, doesn't it? So I'm going to say 82 minus, and if it says some number, do we know what number that is? No, right? So we can just put whatever number you want. It could be X, it could be N, it could be S, whatever number you want, or letter you want to put there as a variable. So 82 minus S, I'll put an S for some number. You could have put N, you could put whatever you wanted. All right, number 8 says let X equal 2, Y equals 4, Z equals 3. And you're going to evaluate this expression. So I know it's going to be, if I were to rewrite it, 3 times whatever my X is, which is up here, it tells me X equals 2. And then I put plus 3 times Y, oops, which is 4. I like to put them in parentheses. It just helps me organize. And the last thing is plus z, which is 3 with the exponent of 2, right? So I'm going to put 2 here, and actually I'm going to make it smaller. But you know what little floating guy means? That he is small. There we go. So then I would, now that I have this, I'm going to do my PEMDAS, and I'll be able to solve and evaluate this, right? Remember, multiplication and division, it goes in any order, so it could be this even, right? It doesn't have to go in that order. PED-MASA or PEMDAS, it doesn't matter, because these two, it's just whichever shows up first to the left or right. So on this one, do I have parentheses? No. Like these are in my parentheses, but there's nothing I can do within my parentheses. And then do I have any exponents? I do. I have one right here. So I need to solve that part first. And then you can solve the rest of it. Let's see here. Sorry to help you guys a couple more. So this one says write the formula for the area of the figure below. When we know area is always on a square, it's always base times height, right? And it says use the variables given in the figure. So what would my formula be to figure out my area? It would just be base times height, right? So that's all you have to write, base times height. I'm gonna let you guys write it out. There's plenty of different ways you can write base times height using variables. Write a phrase that represents k times 12. Let's see here. I think I'm not sure what this is actually asking, but k times 12, right? A phrase that represents k times 12. This might be a typo, but if anything, you could put your 12k. That means 12 times k, right? Or k times 12. It'd be the same thing. I think this might be a typo, guys. This one, write the expression 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 in exponential form. That means 4, right? That's my base. It's going to be 4 because every time it's 4, right? All these numbers are 4, so my base is 4. And then how many times does that mean multiplied? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it just goes 4 to the 5th power. That's how you do that one. I'm just going to do a couple more, and we're done. All right, when it says evaluate 8 to the 0 power, you were taught that 8 to the 0 power always means 1, right? So that's it. If it's 100 to the 0 power, that's also going to be 1. So every time you see 0 power, our answer is going to be 1. Is this one of those that you need to remember and memorize? Now this one, 52 to the 1st power, that's saying 52 1 times, right? So it's just going to stay at 52. Same with if I had 100 to the 1st power, it would just keep my number the same. All right, I think that's the last one I'm doing. I did most of the actual review with you guys. Hopefully you can solve the ones I didn't do. And if you have any questions, please ask before the quiz so that we can get that resolved right away. All right, guys, good luck on this.